Good evening and welcome everybody to the City of Farmers Branch Council meeting for Tuesday, July 16th. Our invocation and pledges this evening will be led by Councilman Baird.
Please rise. Please pray with me. Our Heavenly Father, we're thankful for this time you've given us tonight to gather, and we pray that you would guide our actions and our decisions. We're thankful for our city and for our city staff and for our residents, and we pray that your hand would be on us through this evening. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. And now the pledges. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas,
one state, under God, one and indivisible. So we're going to be just a little bit out of order here this evening at the beginning. We want to finish one item of study session, which is our discussion and update from Woven Health Clinic. We were right in the middle of that when we had to break. So I'm going to ask the Woven director to come up to the podium, maybe just reintroduce yourself, and then we will resume with council questioning before we get to our regular agenda.
Hello again. I'm Jackie Rakowski, the Executive Director of Woven Health Clinic.
Okay. Thank you, Jackie. And we left off, I believe Councilman Roman had some questions that he wanted to ask.
Yeah, and I think we visited over the break a little bit about it. I think you guys are doing a great job at providing a service to our community. One thing that did stand out to me as we were discussing the budget is I recall last year that the former executive director had mentioned something about that the request was going to be $50,000 for the last fiscal year, and then or $50,000 for the last fiscal year, but then it would revert back to the original 25. And so I just was kind of looking for a little bit clarity about that. I didn't know if something had changed or if maybe we just didn't remember that the amount was supposed to go back.
Because I just started in January, I really don't have an answer for that or what was discussed. I looked at the agreement, same way I'm sure everybody reviewed it. I would have thought the agreement would have been written that way, which would have made sense for a better understanding for everybody. I did talk to my board president and treasurer and vice president. They did all assume it was a continuation over 5 years of that 50,000. I wish I had a better answer, but
That's it for me.
I don't know.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Anybody else? Councilman Neal.
Yeah, thank you, Jackie. I want to thank you and your staff for all that you do for our city and our residents especially. So grateful for all of that. And I was happy to hear about the membership program that you mentioned. I think the last presentation last year to council was the initiation of a membership program. And to that point, I think upstairs you mentioned there was about 65 at this point. Do you have any targets to grow that in any way? And if so, is that something you could share?
Yes. So obviously it's in the initial stages. It's going to take time to build this program up. Mainly it is something new for this area. When we do call on businesses, a lot of people don't even know what direct primary care is. Some have questions about where does that, what if I want to provide that catastrophic portion for healthcare? So we are talking to other insurance brokerages that actually come alongside DPC that provide that hospitalization care. So I know, it's a small target this year, but going forward, the goal is really to increase our patients by 2,000. Okay. Which is to be part of the membership.
And a question for City Manager Ben. The current agreement is $50,000 per year for 5 years, just to clarify.
That is correct, yes.
Okay, because I realize that there has been some budget discussions around reducing that. And I'd just like to go on record and say I'm not in favor of any reduction. If anything, they might need a little more, but at this point, I'm quite satisfied with what they do for our residents and the fee structures that we have agreed for the next several years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Jackie, thank you so much for sticking with us tonight.
Of course. Thank you all.
And we'll look forward to working with you in the future.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. So now will be our ceremonial items, and we'll begin the regular portion of our city council meeting. Okay, so I just had rotator surgery, so don't anybody try to shake my right hand, please. But I didn't want my sling on for any pictures. Our next item is G1, recognition of the Farmers Branch Fire Department, Quint 133 and Medic 133 for their actions in saving the life of a cardiac arrest victim on May 20th, 2024. Guys, come on down. So let me just give you some background here. On May 20th, 2024 at 11:49 p.m., the Farmers Branch Fire Department, Quint 133 and Medic 133 were dispatched to a person needing lift assistance. Upon arrival, the crew found the patient on the floor with no obvious signs of distress. The crew helped the patient to their chair. By that time, the patient stated their arm was becoming itchy. Within moments, the patient became unresponsive, pulseless, and Ebner?
Apneic.
Okay.
Not breathing.
Not breathing. Crews immediately moved the patient onto a stretcher and started CPR. While conducting CPR, the patient was hooked up to a LifePak 15 monitor. The patient showed to be in pulseless electrical activity. Approximately 2 minutes later, the patient began to grunt in pain and began to breathe. CPR was stopped, and the LifePak 15 monitor showed that the patient had a normal sinus rhythm. The patient was then moved to the ambulance for transport. While en route to Medical City, Las Colinas, the patient's complete vitals were taken, and it was shown that the patient had low blood pressure. An IV was established, and medication was given to increase the blood pressure. Throughout the transport, the patient was alert and responsive. Later that week, the patient, was discharged from the hospital. This would not be possible without the medical direction from Dr. Northing at Best EMS, field training officers, medical simulation program, and the EMS captain. And now I'd like Chief Latimer to finish off on telling us the rest of the story.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. And we have our representatives from Medical City, Las Colinas. We'll have them come up here right here in just a minute. But I just want to go ahead and address the Mayor and Council and City Manager. Thank you all very much for your continued support that you show the fire department. You continue to show the fire department. And just thank you for the citizens as well, the support you show us. But most importantly to these guys right here, our guys and girls out here in the fire department. As you hear, we're up here often with life-saving awards. And it's because of, like we said, the full field training officers, the training programs we have, our leadership, and our EMS captain, our operations chief. And just, if you would, just give them a round of applause for all they do for us. At this time, I'd like to invite our representatives from Medical City, Las Colinas.
Hello, everybody. My name is Travis Hardy. I'm the EMS coordinator over at Medical City Las Colinas. Today with me, I got our COO, Marcus Jackson, and Josh Constantino, our trauma program manager. So only about 10% of cardiac arrests that happen out of hospital actually end up surviving. So we like to celebrate it when it happens. It takes a whole team to help save people's lives. It starts with the call takers, the dispatchers, all the way to the EMS. No one would ever respond to the call without the dispatchers appropriately activating the correct units and getting to the correct location and the right scene. And then recognition from someone in distress is vital for our EMS jobs. So a simple lift assist turned different very fast. It was just helping somebody get off the floor, turned into something different fast. So due to the quick actions of Farmers Branch Fire Department personnel, we as a hospital were fortunate enough to be able to part of saving the patient's life. When the ambulance arrived at the hospital, we quickly performed multiple tests and imaging. After being monitored in the ER for a few hours, the patient was moved to our ICU for continued tests. After an echo, it was determined that as well as the allergic reaction that caused the cardiac arrest, the patient suffered an NSTEMI, which is a type of heart attack. One of the major blood vessels supplying to the heart was 95% stenosed. It was basically clogged up. So we were able to perform a surgery, putting a stent in place, and he ended up being discharged with 0% stenosis. The patient was continuously monitored for the rest of the day and then discharged the next morning with instructions with a follow-up with the cardiologist. So everyone involved in caring for the patient deserves recognition from the call takers, dispatchers, fire department personnel, and all our hospital staff. So we want to thank Farmers Branch City Council and the fire department for allowing us to be here to give our thanks to all those who played a part in saving the patient's life. And one of the special things we do, and we'll continue to do it, is we have a plaque that has the fire department personnel's, all the crew members that are involved in the call that are on it. So, Chief, that's for y'all.
Thank you very much.
And we also have some certifications that we'll hand out to the guys afterwards. Okay? Thank y'all.
Thank you very much. Well, that's it for us. Once again, thank you all very much for the support. And just once again, thank you guys for coming tonight. And thank you all for all y'all do for our community. We appreciate you.
Okay, right here. Right here. Hey, Corey. Stand right here. Corey.
In front of the
Oh, in front of the podium.
Yes. There you go.
Sorry, big crowd.
Looks good. Thank you.
So next is item G2, which is a presentation of a proclamation to the James A. Smith Masonic Lodge, number 395, for their 150th anniversary. John, come on down. So the James A. Smith Masonic Lodge has been in Farmers Branch since 1898. In that time, the lodge has served the city through various community activities, such as the adoption of Blair Elementary School and the support of the city's first responders. Pardon me. We honor their involvement and commitment to the citizens of Farmers Branch and present this proclamation to honor their 150th anniversary. There we go. So this is a proclamation from the Office of the Mayor. Whereas on June 6, 1874, James A. Smith Masonic Lodge number 395 was chartered by the Grand Lodge of Texas and was named in honor of Reverend James A. Smith. And whereas Reverend James A. Smith was the first minister to establish a Methodist church in Dallas County. And whereas the lodge moved to Farmers Branch, Texas in 1898 to promote the principal tenets of brotherly love, relief, and truth. And whereas the James A. Smith Lodge continues to serve the city of Farmers Branch through community involvement, the adoption of Blair Blair Elementary School and their support of those who serve our city as first responders. And whereas the James A. Smith Lodge celebrated their 150th anniversary on June 6, 2024. Now, therefore, I, Terry Lynn, Mayor of the City of Farmers Branch, do hereby honor the James A. Smith Masonic Lodge number 395 for their 150th anniversary and celebrate their achievements.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, Council, and City Manager, it's indeed a milestone for the journey of James A. Smith Masonic Lodge to receive this proclamation. It's been a growth, learning, and an impact that we have on our community, and we look forward to many more generations of impact for our city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Need everybody up here, we'll get a picture. You bet. Next up is G3, item G3, presentation of the Employee of the Month Award for the month of June to Adam Armendariz of the Parks and Recreation Department. So tonight we're here to recognize Adam, Youth Program Leader, Parks and Recreations, as our Employee of the Month for the month of June. Adam has demonstrated a remarkable ability to connect with the community, fostering a positive environment. His proactive approach and willingness to go above and beyond have significantly contributed to the success of the programs he oversees at the Park and Recreation Department. Adam's ability to work with the Teen Fire Academy is just one example of how he continually strives to make a positive impact. He's comfortable with displaying his leadership skills with other departments and doesn't hesitate to help others. So I just want to say, Adam, thank you. I feel like we're very lucky to have you. Would you like to say something?
Yes. Good evening. My name is Ashley Munoz, Recreation Manager and also Adam's Direct Supervisor. Adam received Employee of the Month for June due to his exemplary work with Teen Fire Academy, but this accomplishment only confirms for us as a full-time staff all that we've seen in Adam since he started the Teen Leadership Program. This is Adam's first summer with us and it has been a great start from the beginning. His passion for making connections with the teens and his fellow team members is seen every day. His work ethic and willingness to be a team player is outstanding. We are excited to continue to have Adam on our team for years to come. Thank you.
Can I say something? First, I want to thank my Lord and Savior for always watching out for me, being there for me. I also want to thank my family for being my biggest support system. Then I want to thank my team at the Parks and Recreation Department for giving me this opportunity. Thank y'all.
So we have this beautiful Employee of the Month award, and I hope you'll display it proudly at your house.
In my college dorm.
All right. We'll bring it, come forward, and we'll get a picture of it. And next up is item G4, presentation of the American Society of Landscape Architects Texas Chapter Award for the John F. Burke Nature Preserve, presented to the city by Dunaway and Associates. So the Texas American Society of Landscape Architects Awards identifies and recognizes outstanding examples of recent and past works by Texas landscape architects and acknowledges their contributions to the quality of life for all citizens of Texas. Awards are given at an annual Texas ASLA conference each year and are judged by volunteers from other states. The awards program includes projects in various categories, including design constructed projects, design unrealized projects, planning and analysis, communication, international, and classic. The John F. Burke Nature Preserve was submitted with the design constructed projects category, which recognizes site-specific landscape architecture and urban design works for built projects. At the jury's discretion, the John F. Burke Nature Preserve was selected to receive an award of merit. Located at the crossroads of a major freeway interchange and the Trinity River corridor, the John F. Burke Nature Preserve is a precious remnant serving as a guarded home to a diverse community of wildlife and vegetation. The property encompasses riparian forests, meadows, and wetlands, an unexpected ecosystem within a highly urbanized area. The master plan incorporates accessible parking upgrades, composting, restroom facilities, and an amphitheater and classroom, wetland boardwalks, and gateway pedestrian bridge, river outlooks, wildlife blinds, and an intentional hierarchy of both impervious and natural surface trails that connect to the regional hike and bike trail network. So I'm going to have our park director come up and say a few words.
All right, thank you. Robert Diaz, Parks and Rec Director. I just want to thank, we've got two representatives with Dunaway here, Elizabeth Malkorath and Aaron Law. Aaron was actually the principal designer on this project. And I also want to kind of call out some of our park staff, Ross Pittman, one of our parks managers, and Mark Moffitt. Our park superintendent are actually, one's at a conference and one's on vacation, but they were both those guys are instrumental in making this project happen, in addition to all the park staff and the contractors that we had to make this possible. And it's a real gem, and we appreciate them, Dunaway, putting this on for us. So I don't know if you guys have anything did you want to say, or? Okay.
My name is Elizabeth. I'm a principal at Dunaway, and got to go on the journey of master planning the John Burke Nature Preserve all the way from the start to now that we've got phase one on the ground. And you guys are right, it is a gem in this community, and we're proud to have gone to our professional organization and received an award that would honor the design and honor the property. And we're happy to share it with the city, because working alongside city staff as designers, sometimes that's easy and sometimes it's not, just to be honest. But it was very easy with this community. Everyone loves the property, and hopefully everyone is enjoying it now that phase one is on the ground. So we're happy to share the award with the city.
Thank you, Mayor. All righty, appreciate it. Thank you.
Next up are our items of community interest.
Thank you, Mayor. Items of community interest for this council meeting of July 16th, 2023. Mark your calendars for October 18th and 19th at the Farmers Branch Historical Park, because the 15th annual Bloomin' Bluegrass Festival returns here to Farmers Branch, and tickets are on sale now. The Del McCurry Band And Rhonda Vincent and The Rage will headline. You can buy those tickets online at bloominbluegrass.com. Since the Memorial Day storm, our city sanitation crews have cleaned up nearly 12,000 cubic yards of brush. Now, to put that in perspective, that equates to more than 6 months of debris collected in about 6 weeks. The Green Grabber crews have worked long hours to get it done. Now, some piles in city parks have yet to be collected. They will soon be gathered as well. If you have any questions about bulk and/or brush collection in your neighborhood, you can call 972-919-2613. Are you curious about city projects? Well, we have a new interactive city projects dashboard on our website with the latest improvements in the city. It's interactive with details including the project's budget, scope, and department contacts. And I believe we have an image of it now. There it is. So this is an idea of what you'll see. It is interactive. You can move the map around and pick and choose which details you want to focus on. Just look for city projects on our website. That's farmersbranchtx.gov. Have you considered serving the city on a board or a commission? Well, if not, why not? Each board or commission plays a critical role in public policy development and review. The city specifically right now needs volunteers on the parks, the library, sustainability, and our zoning boards. Please consider. For more information or to apply, visit fbboards.com, or you can call us at 972-919-2515. Also, Christmas tea is a long-standing holiday tradition here in the Farmers Branch Historical Park, and those tickets are about to go on sale beginning Monday, August 12th. They are very popular. Each tea service features live music, delicious treats, Christmas decor, and, of course, tea. This year, they will be December 7th and 14th with sittings at 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. Reservations can be made by calling 972-406-0184. The Barney Wood Dog Park will remain closed through Monday, August 12th to allow our park staff to re-sod the area. We apologize for the delay, but that sod will need time to take root. Also, as many residents know, West Nile virus has been detected in another mosquito trap here in Farmers Branch. So the city will initiate spraying for 2 nights this week in Area 4. That's the Pebble Beach area. And those nights will be Wednesday and Thursday nights after 10 p.m. And by the way, we also have mosquito repellent and larvicide dunks available right here at City Hall. Does the green space behind your backyard or fence look like a jungle? Well, if so, we need your help. That grassy, unpaved lane or area is called an easement, and it should be maintained just like a front or backyard. Grass, weeds, and brush must be trimmed. There are many reasons, including reducing or improving drainage and reducing mosquito populations. For more information, you can call the city at 972-919-3131. Actually, I think that should be 972-247-3131. Yeah, that's correct. So that's 972-247-3131, or use the FBTX Connect app. The overlook at the John F. Burke Nature Preserve is closed right now for repair due to some erosion caused by the recent heavy rains. All other areas of our wonderful nature preserve are still open. However, visitors should be mindful of the river's edge. And as always, you can sign up for City e-News at farmersbranchtx.gov. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Brady. I'm going to dispense with a report on study session items since we are nowhere near finished with that. We will be resuming study session after we finish our regular council meeting this evening. So next up will be citizen comments. Please note there is a 3-minute time limit for each person to speak. Anyone wishing to speak shall be courteous and cordial, no disparaging or inflammatory remarks directed at any member of city staff, a board or commission, or city council. When you come up to the podium, please state your name and address. Again, you will have 3 minutes. When the light turns red and you hear the tone, that is the time to stop. Our first speaker this evening is Nancy Holland.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Nancy Holland. I reside at 131 Kerr Trail. This is my first time coming to a City Council meeting. I've usually watched them from home, or I think I actually came to the study session last week, so thank you for having us. Basically, I'm just here to explain that as a mom of a little girl, she's about 7 or 8, I guess she'll be 8 in fall, I'm very interested in the things that she's able to do. And so when I was listening to some of the things that were talked about in the study sessions, I was concerned about, getting rid of events or getting rid of pool hours or just hours in general. And I guess I just wanted to voice my support, first of all, for the park's facilities and for those events. My daughter's gone to the daddy-daughter dance twice now. She loves it. She has a ball. It's something that I am very happy that she gets to do through the city. So I hope we can continue to do that. I think it's not on the chopping block this year, but I hope we can continue to voice our support for those things in future years as well. Let's see. I also just wanted to, say I've noticed that we've kind of tried to cut events or kind of combined events, and I'd like to see, we're so focused on cutting things, I'd like to consider maybe adjusting something, maybe that something's not working, and instead of just cutting it all together, maybe we just find a new way to do it for a little bit less money. I think we're doing some of that, but I wanted to voice my support for that. And then just in general, I would hope that we would focus on maybe cost savings in general and not focus on a 10-cent, I think we talked about that for a second, but even the 3-cent goal of saving property tax, I think that was a little aggressive in some of the ways that we were trying to just cut things to meet that number. I would rather pay a little bit more money in my property taxes than have some of those services go away. And then in general, I would also support the trash fee. I think when we talked about that, that seemed like a very common sense thing to do. I think it was $5, I guess, on a bill for, I think we said 5 years and then it would go up. So anyway, that seems like a pretty common sense thing to do. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Price Trosen.
Good evening, neighbors. Buenas noches a mis vecinos. My name is Price Trosen. I live at 2711 Mountain View Lane, Farmers Branch, Texas 75234. Salute. I'm on the Sustainability Committee, so the issue of the Citizens Collection Center is a big deal to me. I put the numbers down. Over the past fiscal year, the Citizens Collection Center has collected 668 tons of trash bulk to go to the landfill, but they have also collected 40 tons of material in the various different materials, recycling, electronics, etc., that have been diverted for the landfill. 6% doesn't seem like a lot, but it adds up over time. Also, there's been 1 ton of food waste diverted to the composting program, which is also another saving the lifespan of the landfill, of which we know there is it is a finite resource. It will not go on. Eventually, it will come time to close it. And anything that we can do to lengthen the timeline of the landfill is very important. I want to make sure that everybody knows that we want to be known as forward-thinking. We want to preserve what we have, echoing my neighbor's previous to me, her thoughts. It is, once you cut something, it's gone. We know it's really tough to get something back once it's cut. So a lot of some of the services, some of the pool, the rec center, the Citizens Collection Center, especially for me, that's very important. Keep an eye on the future and not look to the short term for solutions. We should consider our kids. We should consider what's good for our kids and maybe their kids. I'm only looking one generation down, but I think it's very important to keep things such as the DART funding to help our neighbors and other parts of the DFW area, to keep our Citizens Collection Center open, and also our services, parks, and some very popular programs in the city of Farmers Branch. I moved here 9 years ago. I am not from Texas, but I do love living in Farmers Branch, and I want it to continue to be a place where people can be proud to live. That's all.
Thank you so much. Next up is William Kirby.
William Kirby, 3411 Ridge Oak Way. This was with regards to the Valley View Road reconfiguration. It's very easy to say no. No keeps us at a status quo and is a safe answer where yes may invite change. Whether it's road diets, apartments, or anything during budget season, I'm sure that you hear lots and lots of no's. But when we push through the easy no and invite people to tell us what they really do want, you get some thoughtful, insightful, and productive answers. To that end, I'll reference input from the thorough and involved comprehensive plan process. Phase 1, Station 1 of the surveys. There's a desire among residents for the city to have a more exciting front porch and to offer innovation opportunities within walkable streets connected to accessible parks. Phase 1, Station 2, this is your love more or less exercise. Residents of Farmers Branch want more sit-down restaurant options, more coffee shops, more retail opportunities. Residents on the west side of I-35 would like better access to not only restaurants and coffee shops, but also a grocery store. Many residents would like more beautiful gateways to the city, as well as a focus on safety with more law enforcement presence and traffic control. Phase 1, Station 3, in the right-of-way, residents would like more trees, bike lanes, wider and interconnected sidewalks, and enhanced public spaces and facilities. These comments were specific to the central area. Improve the safety of streets and sidewalks for walking and biking. Coordinate with school districts for safe routes to schools. Signals should prioritize non-car traffic for public safety. Trees and planting buffers between sidewalks and roadways, and a desire to improve Josie Webb Chapel and Valley View. You're likely sensing a pattern here. It's a bit repetitive. But these comments are many and they are consistent through Phase 1, 2, and 3, the pop-up surveys at Essilor and the International Plaza, the Technical Advisory Committee, the walk studies, and the online surveys. Some comments even go so far as to explicitly call for the removal of one travel lane from Valley View specifically. I didn't say that, but I agree with it. The road needs to be resurfaced anyway. The sidewalks need to be improved anyway. The intersection at Valley View and B Street needs to be redone anyway. This project benefits all of those outcomes, and somebody else is offering to pay for most of it. In the interest of giving the citizens of Farmers Branch what they do want, it's a pretty straightforward conversation. And in this case, the answer is yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Jason Ennis.
Hello, Jason Ennis, 12523 Royal Oaks Lane. I'm also here to speak in favor of the Valley View Road Diet. I moved to Farmers Branch a few years ago, and I've been surprised by the number of times I've told people I've moved to Farmers Branch, and they don't know where I'm talking about. I think they think I live in some Oklahoma suburb. And it's understandable, because until recently, there wasn't much here in Farmers Branch. Thankfully, your work is beginning to change that, and that's why it's important to keep the good work of making Farmers Branch a better place to live and play rather than just to drive through by following through on the Valley View Road diet. People in or near our new downtown or just visiting should be able to park once and cross the street without fear for their safety. Kids should be able to walk to the park or Little League, and a grandparent should be able to walk to see their kid or the Firehouse Theater or the new restaurant at Mustang Station without having to play a game of Frogger crossing Valley View Lane. If for some reason you really need to floor it through Farmers Branch or east-west, well, we have LBJ, the Bush, even Beltline to do that. Every morning I drive north on 35. I cross over Valley View. When I'm crossing north at 50, 60, even rush hour-ish, I have 3 lanes of travel going north on our I-35. I find it hard to believe that Valley View, not an interstate highway, also needs 3 lanes of traffic. I know we're expanding I-35, but I'm zooming, and I have 3 lanes. Luna was recently reduced to 2 and even 1 lane of traffic for construction, and there was no major chaos or traffic problem. I live right there. Maybe I had to wait for a couple of extra cars. There was no problems. So a slight slowdown for a road diet of 0.3 miles, or just 1,584 feet, is not a big issue. I think school zones are often as long. And if a road diet does affect the speed of traffic on Valley View that much, let's just be honest. The overall effect might be that it slows down people to the actual posted speed limit. So no one moves or vacations somewhere for the highways, the streets, and speeding traffic through neighborhoods. You don't go to New York and Chicago, Charleston, and say, yeah, getting a walk around the shops, parks, and sites was okay. But the roads, highways, terrified pedestrians, that's the real attraction. You have a chance to keep building Farmers Branch for the people who live here and not just for the cars speeding through. I urge you to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Lynn Chafin.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Councilman, City Manager. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Lynn Chaffin. I am a resident of 1735 Whittington in Farmers Branch. I'm a Mercer Crossing resident. And I've listened with interest on the gentlemen that have spoken in favor of the Valley View reconstruction. I come from the other side of it. I'm concerned about the very fact that it is so small a distance, so short a distance, is going to have people weaving in and out, cutting people off. I think it's going to be really a potential for more traffic accidents, and I think you're going to have a problem for bikers, and that concerns me. I am not in favor of the reconstruction on Valley View, though it desperately needs better sidewalks. We do know that in order to be more walkable. I would like also to speak about some of the things that are being considered on budget cuts. As you look at Woven, as you look at the city clinic, as you look at mosquito testing and spraying, mosquitoes have a more elongated cycle now as the climate warms, and they're bringing us all kinds of even better things like Zika and West Nile, and we'll see what's next. But I would encourage you to keep that testing and that spraying in the budget. Also, as we look at Woven, I think you had a very positive response to that presentation. I'm sorry I wasn't here for the study session, but I think you had a positive feeling there. Also, the city clinic and some of the funding for the libraries. Although Farmers Branch has the census from 2020 had less than 9% poverty rate in Farmers Branch, and that's not bad at all, actually. But if you look at elementary, and that was pre-pandemic, but if you look at our elementary schools, the elementary school in Farmers Branch that is DISD has a 98% lower socioeconomic population. Carrollton Farmers Branch schools, they have 5 elementary schools that have Farmers Branch addresses. One of those has 80 to 88% is for 4 of them, and one of them is 60%. I would encourage you to keep those services that help the most vulnerable of our population. So thank you very much for your service, for your consideration. I know this is a hard, hard job. So thank you all very much, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Next up is Terry Anderson.
Terry Anderson, 2644 Mount View, and this is going to be a little different, but it'll only take a minute. Mayor and City Council, I am a heterosexual. I am one that is naturally inclined toward reproductive pairing. I am not proud of it because I had nothing to do with it. I was born that way. I did not achieve my sexuality. Pride without achievement is conceit. I would never want to be known as conceited. I would not want my city to create special recognition for people like me. My brother is left-handed. I understand that he's in a 10% minority. He did not achieve left-handedness. He was born that way. He takes no pride in this somewhat unique trait because that would be conceited. He would not want his city to declare special recognition for people like him. The alternative sexuality groups have always insisted that sexual status is private and should not be subject to the scrutiny of others. Let's grant the wish in Farmers Branch and keep sexuality private and never again celebrate yet another artificial division of humanity. Let us, from now on, restrict special recognition for individual achievement only.
Thank you very much. Next up is Candace Adams.
No cane. That's progress. Off the cane. Candace Adams, 3521 Pebble Beach Drive. And I have a few things that I would like to talk about. First of all, I'd like to personally thank Councilmember Baird for his service. It is absolutely amazing, and I know it's been difficult, especially with the climate and stuff that had been going on. So I really appreciate personally to say thank you for your service. The other thing that I'd like to talk about is that with it being spring and summer, summer here, people are going out more and they're with their pets and stuff, and a lot of people are letting their pets off leash, okay? And I know personally that 2 or 3 of my friends have been attacked. One of them was attacked at the city park, the dog park, and had severe injuries. The other friend's pets were killed. Because people will let their dogs off leash. I know specifically that there are a couple of people that do it on a daily basis at some of the parks, the Rawhide Park over here. They let their dogs off leash and they're aggressive and they sit back and laugh, or they let their dogs off at the school and let them run and play, but they're aggressive and they can't control them. The thing that I would like for us to do is to have our animal control people get with the code enforcement people. And there are a lot of dogs, losing my thought here, there's a lot of dogs that I see on next door that get out a lot. And some of these are repeat offenders. So I would like for the animal control to get with the code enforcement and find out why these pets are getting out. Is it something that we could do as the city and maybe have a team building event for the city of Farmers Branch and go to these, there may be elderly widows, what have you, lower income, not able to repair the fence, and let us go and do what we can do to eliminate that situation. And it would be a great team building event for our city. It would also have intermingling with departments, since the Parks and Recs may not have a lot of interaction with the executive parts of our city. And maybe this team building event would help, and it would also encourage our citizens to report the issues that they need help with. Our church has a public, a day that we go out into the city and we take care of people's yards. We paint inside their house. We fix their porch up, and it would be fun to be able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Rick Johnson.
Council members, Mayor Rick Johnson, Harley Drive, Farmers Branch, Texas. There are many times that rumors get started and things happen, and they're detrimental, especially to the people who sit on the council. There's many times that Mr. Lynn, I've stuck up for him and his family because people were spreading lies and rumors. This seems like it's becoming a regular thing. You know, at the time the cutbacks came out, there were things that weren't touched. And then there were things, oh, we're going to close the library. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We've outsourced so much stuff. We've had so much money saved. There's a problem with the spending and how the money's handled. That's where it's at. And to turn around and put that rumor out there and to bring that forth, basically, you made all this political. And that's wrong. That should have never been done. With that being said, there's some of you that are now going around telling people, well, there's certain council members now that it's their fault, even though Mr. Rogers, or Neil Rogers, excuse me, stood up and said, no, that's not what it was about or anything else. Even after that, it's happening. I want to sit here and I want to apologize to Neil, Martin Baird, Omar Roman, because they've been the butt of this. And shame on you guys for doing that. You need to get your act together. You need to learn how to budget money. You don't need to overspend. If there was a previous council and city manager that put us in this position, you need to come forward and tell the city that, the citizens, because we need full disclosure. That's transparency, which I believe many of you ran on, but it doesn't seem to equate. With that being said, we don't need to take out any roads. We've tried skinnying roads before. Look at Golfing Green between Brookhaven and Brookhaven Club. What happened there? Well, you know what? We spent basically what ended up being about $200,000 after we had to tear it out because it was a horrible idea. This is a much more bigger thing. We don't want to be uptown. You don't need to sit there. What you need to do is make it easier for people to get through the city and out, because they're going to come whether you do that or not. The apartments and stuff that you want to build, you want to know what? You built all that stuff on the west side. We don't have hardly new anything. We don't have a grocery store. It's quality, not quantity. We like our city being a hometown. You shouldn't cut anything. You know, maybe you need to search deep inside, and if we don't have somebody that can make that happen, maybe we need to get somebody. You know, just like the rumor, oh, well, if we don't do this, then all these employees are going to leave. Well, we did that, and guess what? They all left anyways. So the scare tactics that are used are wrong, and shame on you.
Thank you. Next up is Shyam Sundar. And I couldn't read your last name.
Thank you, Council, for letting me be here. Good evening. My name is Shyam Sundar Ganeshram, and I live at 12164 Gonzales Drive, Frisco, Texas. I'm against the DART budget cuts as I have friends and family who take DART often, some who are elderly family members who have no alternative to taking DART. Many of them are unable to afford privately owned transportation specifically meant for wheelchair use. I believe that cutting the funds would negatively affect the service, causing people to struggle with getting to where they need. This past week, I have surveyed people riding DART in Farmers Branch and found out that almost all of the people who were surveyed rely on DART as their only method of transportation, and were shocked to hear that the budgets might be cut down for DART. DART needs to go forward, especially in a city where many people who rely on DART as their only method of transportation. Thank you.
Thank you. And next up is Adair Kanda? Did I?
Hello, my name is Adair Aranda. I am at 2946 South Sunbeck Circle, District 3. I echo a lot of what some of the people here, specifically on the DART funding cuts. So this is a huge gamble, as are a lot of public policy decisions. And in public policy, there is a lot of qualitative data that you cannot get from spreadsheets, right? All I ask is for you guys to use the DART outside of the fair, outside of game days, use the bus, use this go zone, use DART before making a decision, because it is on track of doing very, very great things. And if you're gambling with cutting some of these services, then you are affecting the quality of life of people. As this gentleman before me said, sometimes it's our only way of getting around. It's our only mode of transportation. And I also want to just say about the Valley View Lane road diet, amazing. I advocate for anything that slows cars down. That means it's safe. I personally don't drive a car, but anytime I walk near a sidewalk, specifically that stretch of Valley View, it is horrifying. So anything to slow the traffic down in that stretch would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for mispronouncing your name. that is all the folks that I had signed up to speak this evening. So we'll move on to our next item, which is our consent agenda. Council, would somebody like to make a motion? A motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mayor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Reed. We have a motion and a second. If you would, please indicate your vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Next up is public hearing. Item L1, conduct a public hearing and consider adopting ordinance number 3869 for an industrial development on approximately 7.36 acres located at 1751 Valley View Lane within the Planned Development District number 77, and take appropriate action.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Lily Sutton, planner, and tonight we're going to be discussing a potential industrial development at 1751 Valley View Lane. This property is within PD 77. PD 77 does allow for manufacturing, warehousing, and distribution, as well as office uses. However, PD 77 was approved with a conceptual site plan for a parking lot. So in order to replace the conceptual site plan, this amendment would replace that conceptual site plan. So get rid of the parking lot site plan and then the warehouse and distribution, as well as office space. So the proposed improvements do meet the current standards. There are a few special exceptions that the applicant is requesting. One is in relation to the parking ratios. They are continuing with the PD 77 parking ratio requirement. However, they are requesting a parking ratio for warehouse and distribution of 1 parking space per 2,000 square foot. This is consistent with our comprehensive zoning ordinance, our CZO. And in terms of the landscaping, they comply with both the square footage as well as the trees and screening requirements. And I will direct your attention to the southeast corner where there is a proposed masonry wall along the corner of Keenan Bridge and Valley View Lane. So this designation in our comprehensive plan does call for the preservation of industrial uses, and this is consistent with our comprehensive plan. And on June 10th, the Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this request. And with that, I will open up to any questions.
Thank you very much. Council, any questions? Councilman Run?
Is there going to be any storage of any types of vehicles at this location?
On the site plan, they are proposing a potential future parking space for trailer storage. That would have to go through a special use permit or specific use permit. So that would come back for council approval. So it's listed on the site plan, but it would still have to come back.
Okay, that's it for me.
Anybody else? No? Okay, well, this item is marked for action.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve.
Excuse me, wait a minute, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
My mistake. This is a public hearing. I do not have anybody signed up to speak to this. Is there any comments? Seeing none. Now.
Mayor, I make a motion to close the public hearing and approve ordinance number 3869 as presented.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. If you would, please indicate your vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up is item L2, conduct a public hearing and consider adopting ordinance number 3873 to amend the comprehensive zoning ordinance related to residential garage conversions and take appropriate action.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Sarah Bergman, Deputy Director of Planning. So residential garage conversions is a topic that's been discussed by Council a few times over the last year and a half. But just to recap, the comprehensive zoning ordinance currently requires that an enclosed garage be provided for all single-family homes. Conversion of this garage into living space is not permitted unless a new garage is constructed on the property to replace those spaces. As we're all aware, there are a number of homes in Farmers Branch that do have converted garages already, and many of these do not have that additional garage on the property. In fact, a citywide survey completed in 2023 did identify over 1,000 garage conversions that do not have permitting records with the city. And so this creates an issue, especially when a homeowner is coming in to pull a permit for the remodel or repair of their home, and then staff identifies that a garage conversion has occurred without permits, and that permit cannot be processed because of that. And so the option for homeowners at that point is to either reconvert the garage back into vehicle storage space or to construct another garage on the property. And those options are often not financially feasible for homeowners. As a result, the council has discussed a possible amnesty program to allow homeowners in those situations to apply to legalize the layout of their home with the converted garage without constructing another additional garage on the property. So the program being proposed this evening would involve an permit application with the Community Services Department, a $100 fee, and an inspection by the city just to determine that there are no life and safety violations within the garage. If any issues are identified during the inspection, the applicant would be required to correct the issues prior to receiving an amnesty permit. And the proposed length for this program is 18 months to allow time for staff to notify residents of this opportunity and for applications to be processed. So the Planning and Zoning Commission did consider this request on June 10th, and they recommended approval with a few changes. One of those was that the reapplication and extension for amnesty program permits be aligned with our building permit process, which allows the building official some flexibility in terms of timeline for repairs and for reapplication. And then P&Z also requested some clarification regarding the reinspection fees. So that information is provided in your packet. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions. And I do want to clarify that although this is an amendment to the zoning ordinance, the amnesty program is really being proposed and administered by our Community Services Department. So Danielle Summers is here as well to answer questions.
Very good, thank you. Council, any questions or comments? I'll start at my right, Councilman.
Yeah, just a couple of quick questions. How was it that we came to land on 18 months as opposed to 12 or 24 or anything else?
Sure. That was after our, I believe it was the second study session meeting with City Council. Staff had originally proposed 6, and the feeling was that that was too limited to address all, hopefully 1,000 unpermitted conversions. So 18 months is what's being proposed by staff now, but that is up for discussion and could be modified by council.
So is your belief that at least 1,000 people will be applying for this amnesty, and that's why you need 18 months?
We're going to do our best to notify the community at large, and also specifically these 1,000 people. The city cannot require them to apply for an amnesty permit, but we want to advertise the benefits of doing so.
Okay, and that notification program is via the survey that was completed?
The notification? So we...
there was a survey done, and they discovered 1,300 homes or something that was converted.
Sure.
And are you going to use that list of 1,300 addresses, whatever, for the notification of to the property owner specifically, or to the?
Do you want to?
Hi, good evening, Mayor and Council. Danielle Summers, Director of Community Services. About a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, Code Enforcement did a property survey where they had a company that drove around all the neighborhoods, and they marked general compliance issues or whatever, but they also marked if they had a garage or if they didn't have a garage. So this spreadsheet, we have a spreadsheet that we created from that we're going to go off of. We did the research to find out if they had any permits on record, and then we mark on the spreadsheet if they did or if they didn't, and then we're going to use that spreadsheet to try to get out as much information as we can to what we figure about 1,000 people. But that is from the street, so it's possible that there's a lot more, because some people don't have garages facing the street or whatever, so.
Okay, and are we opening ourselves for any sort of liability if the property owner sells a property with a somewhat illegal conversion and they did not notify the buyer? Are we involved in that aspect in any way? Or?
That's maybe an issue between the buyer and the seller, not between us and them. So no, the city doesn't bear liability, although there is a pending case right now where I think we're trying to enforce our existing regulations, and an individual has asked for a declaratory judgment, not for damages. But in a standard transaction, no, we bear no responsibility.
Okay. So it's up to the new buyer, purchaser, to do their due diligence to determine that that property is up to code with respect to any city ordinances. Is that correct?
Generally, that's one of the things that title companies are supposed to be doing.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Sarah. I mean, I've seen some of these pictures, and some of these garage conversions do not look good. And so I'm anticipating we're going to have a lot of residents who are going to need repairs so that their structures are safe. We're not in this program asking them to get rid of their garage conversion. It needs to be inspected for safety, correct?
Correct. We're going to go inspect, before we issue the permit, we're going to go inspect the property. We are only going to inspect that garage conversion area, not the whole house, just that area. We're going to look for any life and safety issues, exposed electrical, sagging ceilings, or something like that that poses a life safety issue that we're going to try to work with them to get it up to safe. Some of these older ones would be really hard to get up to current code compliance, but we're going to try to work with them to at least get it safe. And as far as the exterior goes, it's going to be kind of the same thing if it's considered not safe or whatever. I don't really think we're not going to make them, I think we had this discussion in the past presentations that we're not going to make them change their exterior through this program. We're just trying to get them a legal means to where when they want to do a remodel or something like that, that they have that permit and they can move forward with upgrading their home or something like that.
Right. So many of these situations, we probably have a homeowner that bought the home with the garage conversion. And at that time, there was a certificate of occupancy issued, right, when they moved into their home. And so they probably think everything's good.
Correct.
All right. But an inspection under this program may reveal that everything's not good. Perhaps there's electrical issue or a plumbing issue or structural issue that they need to address now that maybe existed or not back when they purchased their home. So
Correct.
How is the city preparing to deal with the human side of that news with our residents? And you may not have an answer.
Yeah, I don't.
I throw it out there because I think it needs to be considered, because this is going to come as a shock to some families that may not have the resources to bring their home into compliance, may not realize that they're living actually in a very unsafe situation. There may be power lines or something, or gas lines that are causing an unsafe environment for them that they're learning about for the first time, and they may not have the funds to rectify that. So I just ask that the city, think about, that news and how to handle some of those situations. Flexibility
I think is going to be important, perhaps with timeline. And I also think perhaps inspection fees. I think it said in here that reinspection fees will be required, separate permits for modifications will be required. The whole point of this program is to make sure that our residents are safe and that their homes are within compliance of the code. It's not about revenue from fees and such. And so maybe there's some consideration on the fees. I know we have a $100 fee. Is that a reduced fee or is that the normal fee?
That's the fee that we decided upon
Okay.
for this program. So it's a new fee. Reinspection fees, those are on a case-by-case basis. We don't automatically charge people that. It depends on the situation because we always try to be flexible and work with our residents.
Okay, all right, very good. Well, like I said, I'm supportive of cleaning this area up, simply for the safety of our residents and, you know, for many of them that may have no idea the conditions in which they're living. But I think a lot of flexibility and compassion is going to have to be exercised. And I know you guys do a great job of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Reed?
Yeah, just so I understand this clearly, this only comes into play if the homeowner is looking to get a permit to do some work and some other renovations, and then the permit would not be granted until the inspection is done on the conversion? Or are we going to actively go out to these 1,000 homes and seek an inspection?
We are going to actively go out to these 1,000 homes and work with them to get them permitted. So they're going to have to apply for a permit first and provide a floor plan so we can get an idea of their layout, and then we will do an inspection. So we will work with them through this process to get them so that their garage conversion is permitted, which will help them or future buyers.
Okay, so it's going to be an active process where we
Yes.
go out to them, say this is what you need to do to bring the home under proper permitting standards.
Yes, we're going to try to get out as much information as many possible ways that we can.
Okay.
We're going to do the whole city, but we're also going to focus on those approximately 1,000 people that we know has a garage conversion. And so we're going to focus on them, but we're going to try to get information out citywide because, like I said, there are homes out there that have been converted that maybe have a rear entry garage or something that we can't really tell or not. So we're trying to get it out to as many people as possible to allow them to apply for this program.
Okay, and if it's a home that's been identified and they don't want to do anything, what's the next step?
Then they're going to be in the same situation they are right now. So if they apply for a permit and they haven't received their garage conversion permit, and the program's over with, that might be something we have to discuss in the future, but it would be like it is now. If they apply for a renovation permit and we find that they have a garage conversion, then they either we approach them with, I'm sorry, you have to either convert it back to a garage, this is our ordinance, or we let them leave it as it is. You know, you either have to leave your house as it is or you have to build another garage, is the options that they have. So they would be still have to comply with those standards if they don't apply for this program.
Okay, so if they don't go through the amnesty program, nothing is really done until they go for a permit further down the road?
Correct.
Okay. And is there any, I know from a taxation standpoint, DCAD living space is a component of figuring out property taxes. Is there any component to that in regards to this? So since they've changed a garage, which is not living space, into living space, it's approximately 400 square feet, given a standard two-car garage, do we do anything in conjunction with DCAD in regards to doing an adjustment to the living space for the property?
So DCAT gets I guess you would call it a download of all our permits. I don't know exactly how often it is. I don't know if it's once a month or every 6 months or whatever. But they get a download of all of our permits so that they can adjust their records. I also know that they do their own surveying and stuff like that. Sometimes we do research on DCAD to discover that, some of these ones that we think might have a conversion, and then we can look at DCAD and verify it sometimes. But they do get our permits so they can adjust as they see accordingly.
Okay, so if it is recognized as a conversion, they go through the permitting, it'll get into the system somehow?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I have.
Councilman Roman?
I think one of the reasons we're in this situation is there was just a lot of illegal conversions that had happened over some time, and for whatever reason it happened, and now it's creating issues in your department because you have to tell no to a lot of people, and I know it's created some backlog as well in the ZBA when they try and rectify these cases, and the answer is usually no. I think what's important, other than moving forward with this, is that we look at how we can better identify and find individuals who might be in the process, and maybe they're doing it because they don't want to apply for a permit. Maybe they're doing it because they don't know. But for whatever reason it might be, I think we need to work together with our code enforcement team to make sure that we identify when it's happening so that we don't put the council 20 years from now or 30 years from now in the same position, and then we have to spend a lot of resources to fix it. I think we need to be more proactive at identifying the issue when it's happening.
Right, and I think as our, the information that we're trying to put out about this program, will include something in there that gives them, this is our current code requirement. This is your amnesty period that you have to get your current situation under compliance, but these are our rules. And after this today, anything that we find that's converted after, if this is approved today, then, you're still subject to the current code, and you would have to convert your garage block or build another garage. So it gives us a starting point to hopefully better find and watch for those kind of conversions.
Yeah, sounds good. That's it. Thank you.
Councilman Baird? Okay. I'd sort of like to just follow up on what Councilman Reed was saying. So we got 1,035 homes that have converted garages. And you made the comment a moment ago that we discussed this now, but if they don't come forward to take advantage of the amnesty program, then we'll have to address that at some point. I'd rather have this loop closed now. I don't think it's good policy for us to say, we want to do one thing, but if people don't comply, then what? We need to decide what that is and build that in to the program now, so when we get to the end of the amnesty period, we're prepared to address issues. And so I'm a big stickler on reporting things to DCAD. These 1,035 homes that have converted space to living space should all be reported to DCAD. It may take some time to go through and do that, but we should be doing that, because if it's true living space, then they're cheating the city on their taxes, and we just need everybody doing the right thing. Number two is if they don't, well, again, if somebody elects not to take advantage of the amnesty program, then what is our next step? So I think we need to have that defined. Are we going to go after them? Do we send them a letter and say, your property is now not in conformance with city ordinance, and here is what's going to happen. You have to come in, you have to make a application, blah, blah, blah. You're subject to whatever fees that might be. I just believe that needs to be stated up front so we know what we're headed for. Because no doubt out of 1,000, there's going to be some who just don't do anything. Oh, they'll never catch me. I'll just ride this thing out. Well, that's not necessarily safe, because we've already said we're concerned about safety, and it's just not the right thing to do. So making sure that people are compliant, that's what we do every day. We want neat and clean neighborhoods, and that's why we have code enforcement. Well, we want to make sure that we have quality building structures in Farmers Branch, and that's why we have a building inspection team. So it may take quite a while to get around to all these places, but, you know, a knock on the door from building inspection say, you have a converted garage, we're here to inspect it. You know, that's going to get somebody's attention. Now, homeowner may decide, I'm not letting you in my property. That breeds another level of discussion at that point. I think that we need to think through this a little bit further, and I'd rather see us prepared for these variables up front, so we're not coming back here and sort of second guessing our own policy or trying to create it on the fly when we've got 10 people coming before us that all have problems. You came and inspected my house, blah, blah, blah. Well, yes, we did, because you have something that was done that wasn't approved by the city. Now, we're willing to let you have that. It needs to be inspected, or the option is you convert it back. I don't know, council may feel other ways about that, but.
I was just going to add real quick, Mayor and Council, a couple things. You know, there's a question about affording the repairs. Later on during the continued study session, you as the council will look at the minor home repair program, and it would be applicable in this case for any life safety things we found. The reason for the amnesty discussion was there's so many, and so it's how do we fix this moving forward. After the amnesty program, we would treat it just like any other code violation or zoning violation, would give a notice of violation and move forward with it. Hopefully we can convey that through our messaging, but we would be expected to enforce the ordinances of the city of Farmers Branch, which code enforcement would notice. Then they'd get a time frame to either challenge it and go through legal processes or bring it into compliance. But our goal is to bring people into compliance the easy way, which is the amnesty program. And with 18 months, it'll give us time to close those loops and hopefully bring the majority of these properties into compliance, validate that it's been done safely and correctly, and move us past this, because this has been a really tough roadblock, especially for new residents coming into the city of Farmers Branch.
Yeah, I realize this has been problematic for a lot of people, and I've gone on record since day one when we had our first trash bin of saying, you know, I don't want to fine people out of living in Farmers Branch. I don't, but we want compliance, and so how can we achieve that? And so sometimes you have to resort to some type of penalty, and I'm okay with that. But I think giving this amnesty period and with a reasonable application fee, $100 seems very reasonable. We've given them time, we've given them financial consideration, and we need their buy-in to do this the right way. So, but if they don't, I'd just like to know, and I think it would be best business practice for us to have that determined ahead of time as to, okay, what are the next steps? Because right now, we don't know what the next steps are, right?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Christina Ramhild. I'm the Code Enforcement Manager. And kind of reiterating what Ben said, that would be our next steps. We would work with community services and planning, and we have been working with them through this process. Okay. Once that amnesty period is completed, then we will move forward and treat it exactly as Ben said, just like a code enforcement case. We will go out there, we will give them the proper notification, and we will ensure that it is brought into compliance, because we do want to make sure that these homeowners are safe and that these building structures are safe. So we would move forward at that point, just as we would normally with our code enforcement cases.
Okay, very good.
I agree. I'm all for this program, and I agree with what you were saying, and I think we might want to table this for some more clarification, because as I understand it, I may be wrong here, but on the 1,000 or so that the city believes have been built in, you're going to put a door hanger up, right?
We have, yes, she put the slide up here. We have several ways we're going to try to reach out between several different departments with the door hangers, putting an insert in the water bill.
Well, my point, okay, sorry. My point is, are you going to go up and knock and say, we think you have a built-in garage?
That might be an approach that we're going to take after we get all this information out and kind of see what kind of response we get. And then staff as we can, and we have the availability to go out, and the people that aren't responding, maybe knock on their door and just try to talk to them and explain to them what this means to them and how it can help them.
I guess my point, Mayor, is that the city code enforcement has to be standing on public property, and they can look, and it's obvious some garages have been built in. It's got a window and a flower bed in front, whatever, but we still don't know that it's built in.
Converted, yeah.
Converted. And so the reason why I think we might want to discuss this further is to clarify some of the things that you brought up, because if our goal really is, and it is, safety mainly, then I think that we might get some pushback or less uptake on the program if people think, well, if I let them in to look, but then I don't want to go through with it, then they're going to, after the period is over, the city's going to come back after me. And again, so the city can't go in and look at the garage unless they're given permission. Help me out here, Mr. Attorney, if I'm saying anything incorrectly. Unless they're given permission by the homeowner or the resident. I guess it could be a renter. And so I'm just wanting to make sure, I guess, that we do this in such a way that we're going to get the most possible residents to buy in to it. And I think the things that you brought up are good points, and I'm not sure we can figure the 2 or 3 things you were talking about here in these few minutes, but maybe we can, I don't know.
So we're not under a time deadline at this point to get this done, are we?
No.
Okay. Councilman Jackson.
Mayor, I think the right to inspect is done because the resident applies for a permit, right?
Correct.
They've received a door hanger, they got a letter in the mail, they know they have a converted garage. They're being given an opportunity, as I understand amnesty programs in general, you're given an opportunity to make things right? And there's usually some flexibilities and leniencies associated with an amnesty program, like speeding tickets or warrants and that kind of thing. Not that I've ever had to participate in an amnesty program for that reason, but that's my understanding. And so while you may not have your communication plan perfected yet, I think it's sufficient that we're letting these 1,000 or so residents know, door hanger, a letter in the mail, periodic updates if we've not heard from them, that you have an opportunity to come in, get a permit, let us come take a look. It may end right there. Everything may be fine. Gas lines are good, electric's good, everything's good. It may end right there. But I'm not the lawyer, but it seems to me in reading through the ordinance that if they do not reveal this during an amnesty program, we go back to enforcement, and that's already set in our current code enforcement ordinances. It's not and maybe this wasn't articulated well earlier, it's not well, we wait until something happens or nothing happens. We go back to enforcement, affirmative enforcement, because it is about resident safety. And I would suggest that if the city suspected or knew that there was some kind of unsafe condition in a garage conversion next door to my house, and that thing catches on fire and it burns my house down, and I have proof the city knows, I'm coming to the city because they didn't enforce their codes or ordinances on the books with that homeowner. So I'm prepared to pass this and get moving because I don't really feel like there's a whole lot of time to waste here, albeit we're not under a constraint.
I agree with you, Councilman Jackson. I guess the tweak I was thinking of is that once somebody agrees for the city to come in and look at the place, they know that they know they're going to have to fix it. The problem becomes if people see it and think, well, I don't know, maybe they'll find other things, or maybe, and that there might be a we don't know who's going to react which way, but there may be a fairly large number of residents or homeowners that decide not to do it because they're just a little skittish about it. That's all I was saying. I
Understood.
totally understand that once they say it's okay to come in, we're good to go. I totally understand that.
Understood. And if that's the case, if a homeowner gets the notice and they want to try to skirt the thing, that's their problem. And it is a problem. I would assume that the permitting process is also quite explanatory about, here's what's going to happen. We're going to come and inspect your property. Here's the rules, the codes, yada, yada, yada. Everything's going to be real transparent and clear to them what needs to be done, what their role is, what our role is, right?
Correct. I think that the key to this program is going to be communication, because there are going to be a lot of residents out there that are going to worry about, oh, I'm going to let these people in my house, what are they going to do, and what are they going to find? And so the key is going to be to get out the information that this is how the program is going to work. This is the benefit to you. And then keep getting it out there, whether it needs to be, please come talk to us. We'll help you through this program.
Right.
And because we really want to help our residents. We don't want to continue them having this problem and us having to be the bad people at the city. And so the plan is to just get out as much transparent communication as possible with how it's going to work and what the benefit is going to be, and then put it out in different waves throughout that 18 months so that we can cover and pull in as many people as we can. And if that means that we have to go knock out as inspectors and me have to go knock on some doors and say, hey, I understand you might be worried about this, but let me help you. And see if we can get as many of these people in as possible.
I mean, it's possible in this situation, you might have renters in the house that maybe have been trying to rectify an unsafe or situation in their home with the owner for a long time, and the owner's declined. So in that case, the city is actually advocating for the resident and their safety. There's also a situation where there might be a situation so dangerous that that family needs to vacate that house immediately, right?
I suppose it's possible.
Yeah, those are possible scenarios, and so I just raised that as something to consider. Yeah.
I do want to make sure that when we're communicating with our residents about this, that we use plain English in communicating exactly what's going on, because sometimes the codes can be a bit intimidating or they can gloss over them because it's legalese. And also I want to be mindful when we're communicating, or if we have to communicate in person or over the phone, that we take into consideration the demographic that that resident lives in, to ensure that we've got translation services available.
Sure. Yes, we plan to put everything out in both English and Spanish. So.
Go ahead.
I've got one last thing, because if we do kick the can down the road a bit, you're going to run into issues where someone buys a home that has a converted garage, where it hasn't been permitted. Is there any way that we can extend the amnesty program to that new owner?
So if we end up putting a hold on this to bring it back at a later time, if that's to do more research or whatever your direction is, we'll change our dates, because we're going to make this effective whatever date the city council approves it, and then they'll have 18 months from that date.
Right, but what I'm saying is, let's say in 2 years, someone buys a home that has a converted garage, that hasn't gone through the permitting process, all right? And then that new homeowner, who is not responsible for the original conversion, wants to redo their kitchen. And now it's found out that they have a converted garage, and they have to go through this whole process. Is there any way to extend or create an amnesty situation for a new homeowner, so that they're not, they still have to go through the, if they want to get the permit, they still have to go through everything, but make sure that they get some sort of protection?
So our hope is to capture all of these that we can from today going backwards, to where future homeowners won't run into this problem. We can't totally predict that. We haven't really explored the idea of doing an additional program or extending it for just new home buyers. We haven't really explored that.
And I think maybe to that point, then it brings into question if we're creating specific circumstances of amnesty for individuals, then at that point is the question that I'm now posed with is the ordinance relevant? Do we need to continue with it? You know, because if we want to, yeah, that's just what comes into mind. That's the best way I can explain it. It's like, do we want to continue enforcing this ordinance after the amnesty program?
One of the reasons for the 18-month program period is to set a deadline and to discourage someone from converting their garage in the future and then claiming that it was done previously and coming in for amnesty. The zoning ordinance requires that separate garage. That requirement is staying. So after the 18-month period, if someone's not coming into compliance through the amnesty program and it were to move into a code enforcement action, the response is that the garage would have to be reconverted or constructed, which is a significant cost.
I was just going to say, I like Councilman Reed's idea. What, we could have an 18-month program, but we could have an ongoing program that only applies to new homeowners, and we'd have to verify that title had transferred or something.
Well, I was just thinking about that. So let's just say you've identified one of these homes, and our amnesty period starts September, okay? 18 months from September, then they run out of amnesty, but 17 months from now, that person who owned that house that was not in compliance decides they're going to sell their house. They sell their house, and a new person moves in, buys their house. It's not going to be recorded with a title company or anything, so you don't know as a buyer that you have a potential liability, if you will, on your property. And I bought the house, I'm in there a month, and all of a sudden somebody from the city shows up and says, oh, you're not in compliance. But I think it's easy enough to get around that by saying, hey, here, I just bought the house. Here's my paperwork showing my closing date. Nobody disclosed this to me. So maybe at that point, you've got a new reset, a new clock on that particular property. Just something to consider.
And I will add something. This is something that we do see pretty frequently in code enforcement, and kind of like David was saying, it's a title company that will capture these things. And we do have that a lot, where somebody will purchase a property and it does have code violations from the previous homeowner. So it is something that we do frequently see. We do still enforce it because it is something that still needs to be taken care of and if it wasn't captured in title because it wasn't run or whatever the case may be, it is still something that needs to be required. So with the amnesty program extending, it will be a permanent program at that point because we will consistently have new homeowners. But I think that our goal here is by the 18-month mark, we will have a code case on the rest of these that have not applied for a permit. So we should hopefully not run into that, and we should be able to continue with the enforcement and address them before it transfers hands. But obviously, we might still miss a few of them, but it is something frequent that we do see in code enforcement.
I think as long as you're reasonable in how you move forward and fair with residents, that's all we can ask for.
I was just going to reiterate what I had posed the question to the attorney, that it's upon the buyer to count on the disclosures from the seller. I had made that point earlier, so I don't know that we need a special circumstance for that purchaser. They should do their diligence in following through with either a independent inspection, like many new homeowners do, for their property, and ensure that disclosures are made by the seller.
Well, the thing is, you can't ensure that the disclosure is made by the seller, you know? And a home inspection, you buy a property, home inspector's just gonna go in and check it, you know, make sure everything works properly and all that. They're not gonna comment on permitting or anything in regards to the home. They're just gonna expect it for functionality, safety, security, all that stuff.
I guess you could almost say it could somewhat qualify as a latent defect if somebody buys a house, seller did not disclose that the garage was not in compliance and that code enforcement, or that they had received a letter from the city or code enforcement, and they neglect to report that to the buyer. Buyer then obviously has some means for going after them.
It's just not fair to the buyer.
Understood.
It's just not fair to them.
So, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the way it's structured now is great, and I think, we'll figure out what the results of all of this effort is at the end of the 18-month period. And at that point, if we have, maybe we do get, over 90% compliance and we're all happy. Maybe it's not there, and then we revisit it and see if we even want to still enforce, for people to have a garage. Or two, we extend it even further, or we create special circumstances, but maybe we just move forward with it the way it is now, see how it goes. It's a new program that we've not done before, so there's probably a lot of things that we'll learn along the way, but I think we have sufficient time to figure that out, and then we're not bound by anything to not do this again if we wanted to.
Correct. And when the program is over, we will bring you information on how well the program worked and how many compliance permits we issued, and we'll bring all that back to you.
Do you have y'all thought through what the percentages will be for uptake, and then also for how many you might be able to go in with code that don't take you up on the offer?
It's really hard to predict that because you have quite a variety throughout the city of different kinds of conversions and stuff. So it's just, I don't know how we would predict that.
I would agree with Councilman Roman that we move forward with the program or this ordinance as it's presented. I'd just like to make sure that the planning and zoning comments regarding the reapplication and extensions come in line with other standard building permits and such. But I'd like maybe once this program starts, we could come back after, say, 12 months of the 18-month and see kind of where we are and what issues we might need to clean up or adjust.
Okay. Any other comments from council? This is a public hearing. I do not have anybody signed up to speak to it, so entertain a motion to close public hearing and move on item L2.
Mayor, I may make a motion to close the public hearing and approve ordinance number 3873 as presented.
Very good. Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay. You have a comment?
Yes, I'd like to ensure the ordinance includes the recommendations by P&Z regarding bringing it in alignment with other building permit amnesty extensions, et cetera.
Those changes have been incorporated into the ordinance in front of you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We do have a motion with a second, so if you would, please indicate your vote accordingly. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Next up is item M1. Consider accepting the resignation of Councilmember Martin Baird, District 2, and adopting ordinance number 3877, calling a special election to be held on November 5th, 2024, to fill the unexpired remaining term of office and take appropriate action.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. With the resignation of Councilmember Baird, that is going to create a vacancy for District 2. There is approximately 22 months left on his term. So our city charter states that if there's more than 12 months on a vacancy, that we are required to hold a special election within 120 days. So as part of this item, there's also an ordinance requesting your approval that's calling a special election that will utilize the upcoming uniform election date of November 5th. And also, Councilmember Baird will continue to serve through the election so that his district continues to have representation. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Stacy.
You're welcome.
Questions, comments? I'll say, just in general, I'm very sorry to see Councilman Baird go. I understand why, and I mean, you're moving, but
Yeah.
the city's going to miss you, the city council's going to miss you, and it's been a pleasure to serve with you. So, thank you. This item is marked for action. Okay, so I'll reluctantly put forth the motion. I move to approve ordinance number 3877 as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. That doesn't really feel right. You shouldn't be seconding that. But okay.
Should I vote no?
I might. If you would please mark your ballots accordingly. Okay, and the abstention is a yes vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next up is item M2. Consider approving resolution 2024-116 to support capping the sales and use tax revenues paid by the City of Farmers Branch to the Dallas Area Rapid Transit Authority and take appropriate action.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Juaria Tareen, Deputy City Manager. The resolution that you have in front of you tonight, resolution number 2024-116, it calls for supporting capping the sales and use tax revenue paid by the City of Farmers Branch to the Dallas Area Rapid Transit Authority. We are one of the 13 service member cities to DART board. We are not the only city who are bringing this resolution forward. We just have Plano, Rowlett, Irvin, and Carrollton just approved the same resolution. The purpose of this resolution is not to cut the funding today or now. It is just to be in alignment with all other cities. DART receives half of our sales tax, which is equal to 1 cent per year. Farmers Branch contributes around 22 to 23 million. According to one report, only in FY 2024, DART's estimated revenue was around 870 million. The concern, which are also shared by multiple other cities, is the reliability and quality of the services, the cleanliness and safety, which is also shared by our residents. With the contribution that we make to DART, is this what our taxpayers deserve? Or a question we are also asking is, are we subsidizing for the services that are being provided to other cities? The action I'm requesting tonight is passing the resolution, which supports the contribution from existing 1 cent to the 3/4 of the cent. We will join other city for 2025 legislative session next year. With the reduction, our voters will have the ability to allocate 1/4 of a cent, which is equal to 5 to 6 million annual that we can use to our different projects. This is all the information I have for you to discuss and give us guidance. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's really important at this point, just to clarify for anybody listening or here tonight, the City of Farmers Branch is not dropping out of DART. We are not eliminating DART service. So I want to make sure that everybody understands that. We're not eliminating DART service. There's been an effort by many of the member cities to reduce their 1 cent sales tax contribution to DART, which has been in place since day one. And I've sat in a lot of meetings. I've had discussions with Gary Slagle, chairman of the board of DART, regarding this. And this is just an indication of what we would like to do moving forward. But they will still be getting the 1 cent from our city. I choose to look at this as more as a realignment of participation. There's parts of the service area that DART serves that certainly utilize DART much, much more than our city. And there's DART services that seem to work better for our city versus other services that they offer. So we need to take a good hard look at this. We need to evaluate this contribution that we've been making over the past 40 years. We were an original member city, and there are probably other cities that would join DART. They've expressed interest in joining DART, but they don't want to pay the full cent. Many DART representatives or city representatives say, well, that's not fair because we paid the 1 cent for 40 years. And now, why should somebody come in and pay less? I've sat in these meetings and I'm of the mindset that we need to realign our contribution to DART and do it in such a way that enables DART to also go after new member cities to expand their network. The Regional Transportation Commission is going to be coming out with a report later in the year, trying to project the future of DART. Ernst & Young is doing a study for DART right now. And so this is not anything new. And we are not alone in taking action. In fact, Carrollton just voted this evening to do this very action. Again, we're in it with 12 other cities, and the majority of the cities are looking to realign what they're providing DART. So, Council, does anybody have any questions regarding this? There's information in the packet, but questions, comments?
I just have a comment. Thank you very much, DeWarry. I want to just reiterate for those that are here. Can you all hear me out there? I've been hearing that people can't hear me. We're talking about a potential saving to our city of 22 to 23 million every year by moving forward. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct. About five
or six
to
million.
six
Okay, it's a
million.
total of 22 to 23.
Yeah, $5 to
So it's
$6 million
million.
saving.
Regardless, that's
Which would come
pretty
back to our
significant.
city
That's a
budget.
pretty significant money there. So, and again, just to reiterate what the mayor said, we're not cutting any service here. No plans to do that at this time, but the concerns and issues being raised by many are the cleanliness, the safety issues surrounding DART. There's lots of discussion regarding ridership. Ridership is up, ridership is down. I don't know how much the ridership is here specifically at Farmers Branch, but I'm sure it's less than some of these other participating cities. So I just wanted to reiterate that's a $5 or $6 million savings, so the residents are clear on that potential savings by moving forward with this.
Now, I was just made aware this evening of something that DART put out. I sort of take exception to this, but it was delivered, I guess, to Carrollton and Farmers Branch, and it said, this is from DART, your city is going to cut DART funding by 25%. This means transit will be less safe and have less frequent service. I'm not sure I buy that. DART has blown the curve on what they pay for police officers. In fact, they have over 400 full-time employees in their police department. I think, if anything, DART needs to take a look at how they're managing themselves, because it's our money. They're using our money to compete against our own police department hiring efforts. You know, when they come out and say they're going to start everybody at $100,000, makes it really, really hard for local departments to compete with that. It's really an unsustainable model. So I can go on and on. I got lots of facts and figures, but you all had most of the same information that I had. I think this is why it's really important for us to have regular attendance at the RTC meetings every month, at the Dallas Regional Mobility Coalition meetings every month, to be networking with our counterparts, our other mayors and city council representatives in other cities that are part of DART, because we're all fighting to try to save tax dollars. And with some of the state-imposed limitations, budget limitations that we have, it's really important that we try to bring some of our dollars back to our city, because I think we know how to spend our money better than another organization. So, go ahead.
Mayor, I'm also aware that we received a letter tonight or this afternoon from the CEO of DART asking us to defer action tonight. I'm not supportive of deferring the action. I'm supportive of taking the action tonight to support the $0.25 reduction, pursuing that. Regardless of my personal experiences riding DART, the impact I've seen on our city from DART is vagrancy, trash, crime, threatening the safety of our neighborhoods that we're trying to build, like Mustang Station. It's rather convenient for my wife and I to jump on a train, run downtown for a concert, and come back on the train. The 2 times we've done that, both times coming back late at night, there have been some unsafe situations. So I'll echo your comments, Mayor, to tell us that, well, this cut will result in less policing or more unsafe or reduced services. I find offensive for our city to have been paying half of its sales tax for 40 years, is it? 40 years. And they can't seem to police this parking lot out here. We've got residents in pretty high dollar townhomes right here in front of a beautiful little rose garden area, and there's nothing but a chain link fence between them and all the trash that comes up here on their trains. So I do take exception to the threat that could get worse if we cut our funding. I just looked at the DART executive staff team. Looks like I counted 25, 26 executives at DART. I don't know what it takes to run a transportation system, but that seems a bit exorbitant to me. Our city staff and council, every budget season, spends an inordinate amount of time scrutinizing expenses and revenue. And we look at that through a lens of trying to save the resident tax dollars while maintaining high-quality amenities throughout our city. We're doing it right now. I'd like to see what DART's doing to make sure that they're making the best use of half of our sales tax. So I'd like to call the DART, one of these 24 DART executives, to come to Farmers Branch and explain how they're being fiscally responsible with our sales tax.
Thank you. Councilman Romo.
Well, provided there's no other comment, I was hoping we could move to a motion. Okay, Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 2024-116 as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. If you would, please indicate your vote accordingly. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up is item M3. Consider approving Resolution 2024-117, authorizing an interlocal agreement with Dallas County for grant funding under the American Rescue Plan Act for the redevelopment of residential homes in the Valwood Park neighborhood, and take appropriate action.
Good evening, Perla Tavera, Director of Economic Development, Tourism, and Planning. This was brought to you in study session item, so this is now bringing the interlocal agreement and a resolution to go. So this is the Dallas County Housing Replacement Program for the Valwood and adjacent areas. Here's an overall breakdown in regards to the program as far as the county demolishes substantially low, moderate income owned homes and repair it with a new home. Of course, individuals have to apply. They have to have fully paid mortgage, income 80% or below, area medium. As mentioned, the Valwood area, and the funding source for this is ARPA money through Dallas County, and we would be the pass-through. So we are getting $2.5 million from Dallas County ARPA for a total up to 10 homes. The compliance will be a 15-year lien on that home. And here's a couple more information as far as who's going to administer the program. It would be our City of Farmers Branch staff to verify the income and build the homes. The homes would be under 1,600 square foot. An RFP would go in regards to who's going to build the homes. And then, as I mentioned, $2.5 million for the housing program. And as soon as, if this does get approved today, we can start the program and start looking for any of information as far as any residents that would qualify. So we do have Louis Tamayo here with Dallas County, and I am available if you have any questions.
Council, you have questions in regards to the program? Been through it before?
Just one quick question. I was looking through the rather lengthy 264-page document.
You looked at all of it, me too.
Yes, and I happened to notice that several of the exhibits, specifically the statement of work and deliverables under Exhibit E, they're just blank. There's nothing there. How is it? I don't quite understand why they're blank, or maybe I was looking in the wrong way, but there's lots of references to Exhibit E there as to statement of work and the deliverables, and I didn't see. Maybe that comes later in the process. I'm not sure.
I'll have to verify that. I apologize for that, Roger Neal. I believe the statement of that was just all the ARPA requirements because it is ARPA funding. So I think I stopped looking after page 200, but I'll definitely verify it.
I'm quite in favor of this program. I'm just trying to make sure we cross the T's and dot the I's, so to speak. So
Absolutely.
Any questions, comments, or a motion?
Mayor, I move to approve Resolution 2024-117 as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. If you would, please indicate your vote accordingly.
And I just want to make sure we do get the answer that Mr. Neal was looking for.
I'll get that to you as soon as I get back into my computer.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, that concludes our regular city council meeting. We're going to go back to, we're going to take about a 15-minute break. We'll go back to study session. And then we still have an executive session after that, but we'll at least get study session in down here. We'll be down here. So please take about 15 minutes or so and see you right back here. Thank you.